Folks, good morning. My name is Hugh Nagar, and I've been doing artwork for the last 50 years. I learned this craft in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I went out there to work with the Indians, and one of my jobs as an outreach worker was to recruit people for a trade school where they could learn a trade. And when I got there and I found out that I went in there thinking I was going to see the blowpipe, it said glass blowing, and what it was this torch. And I said, whoa, you know. And I sat down and I started working, and that lasted for 3 months. It was once a week, and I just fell in love with it. Towards the end of the 3 months, I bought my own equipment and started doing it in my home, and I found it a great release. I'll share a quick little story with you. I had a Doberman Pinscher for a few years. She was my landlady's dog, and I had to put her down, and I was so upset, and I was mourning for weeks. And I decided to, in tribute to her, I was going to make a little Snoopy playing baseball. And what came out looked like he was going to hit a grand slam. It was just so perfect. And I knew it was Queenie telling me, I got jackrabbits to chase, I got fields to run, I'm doing fine. And I knew that that's where art comes from. It's somewhere else, and you happen to have some dexterity that you can watch it happen. And I become a spectator as much as a participant in this. So I use, you have any question? Oh, I thought you were, anyway, I have two gases that I use, a propane and oxygen. And that gives me the oxygen gives me the heat, the propane gives me the fire. And then it can melt the glass, melts at around 1600 degrees. It's a borosilicate, it's a type of glass. It's a hard glass, besides having soft glass and hard glass, two distinct different formulas, and they won't stay together. So you have to use the same kind of glass. And these are done by a 7-millimeter rod that I can spin. That's why the term spun glass. I have to spin the glass 180 degrees in both directions to get it so that it's uniformly flowing. One of the scientists called this rigid liquid. That's what glass is. It's a liquid that solidifies below the temperature of 1600. It becomes hard glass. But it expands and contracts upon heating. That's why you can't mix glass. It expands at different levels and it will crack. What I'm going to do, I'm going to use 25-millimeter tubing that I'm going to blow the glass, and I'm going to show you how I get to that point. And at the end of the demonstration, please come and choose an animal of your liking, and it's a gift to you. Thank you. Okay. This is a wide torch that I can do the glass blowing with. And what I do is I use special coated glasses. When I put the glass in the fire, it turns bright yellow. And these glasses, they're made from dynamium coating, and they filter out, which is sodium burning off. It gets a yellow glow. When you're up close, you can see with these, we got samples of the glasses. Okay. Give me 1 second here. Hold on. This is the 7-millimeter rods that I use when I make the animals. And what I'm going to do here, it's called pulling points. I'm going to take this fat tube, 25-millimeter in diameter, and I'm going to pull it to a point while I'm spinning. The spinning motion is so that I center this piece, and it makes it easier upon working. I'm going to break it off here so I get airflow. And when the glass cools down enough where I can handle it, I'm going to do the same thing to the opposite side. Again, I rotate it 180 degrees in both directions so that I uniformly heat the tube, and then apply the stretching, spinning. Now this side is sealed and this side is open. So I can come back and apply air pressure to make a little bowl. Now I go back into the flame and I'm going to heat enough of this tubing to make a little bowl-shaped part of this little vase I'm making. I get a certain amount of time before it solidifies. Then I'm going to make sure that the bottom comes to a point where I can flatten it to make the vase stand up. Then I'm going to come in where the neck is going to be on this little pitcher. I call it a little pitcher with a little handle. Certain point, I'm going to reverse the opening so I can apply air pressure. And I'm going to create a big bubble. When I demonstrate in front of kids, they just love this. And I get them counting with me to make the big bubble. So we're all children, so please count with me. 1, 2, 3. Sometimes it's shaped like a heart, sometimes it's shaped like a kidney bean, but it's very thin glass. And I have the top of the pitcher. Then I take the 7mm rod and I'm going to wrap it around the leading edge of this piece so that I can smooth out all the edges. Then I'm going to give it a little spout. Then I'm going to go back to the 7mm rod, and I'm going to heat up about an inch of it at the end of this rod. I've got to remove, some glass was already heated, this end, and it kind of gets coagulated. It lumps up, and I don't want the lumps to happen on the handle. So I burned it clean, first burn. I attach and I start pulling it apart. At a certain point, the glass will follow the contour of my movement and solidify for a handle. Once it's solidified, I can come back in and I can finish the bottom of the piece. And on a fireproof surface, I can flatten it so it becomes stable and upright. Then I remove the handle and there it stands. $64 question? Yep, it's standing. Now the next piece, thank you. The next piece, I already did the pulling points here, but I'm going to make a small dolphin, or a balloon dolphin. Instead of pulling it in one spot, I'm going to kind of go up and down the tube to create a larger section of softened glass, and then have a different angle in which I apply the air pressure. That's the start of my dolphin. Then I'm going to go to the back end of this tube, and again slowly rotate in both directions. And if you can see a dolphin swimming, at this point I'm going to round off where the nose is going to be. And I'm going to create I'm going to make a nose on the dolphin first. I spent some time down in Key Largo where they had a dolphin place, and I learned a lot about dolphins as listening to these trainers. I have to put a hole in this piece because the glass is hollow and it's vacuum in there. So if I try to heat it, I got to have a breathing hole for it to breathe. So I'm going to put in the fire. That bubble was burned out of the fire. That's why I made the glass bubble. This is going to be burned in the fire just to make a hole. Then I got a little spout that he can breathe from. Now, this is a technique called the fold. I'm going to fold solid glass rod where the fin should be. And I have a fin. Now I can burn off the back end because there's an air hole and it can breathe and there's no problem with the vacuum. Anyway, okay. Then I can come to finish it. What I'm doing, I'm going to constantly heat the body of the dolphin up because that body part will cool faster than the fins will. And that difference in temperature is going to cause a crack around the fin. So I got to keep the body uniformly heated. And that's the spinning action I have. Then I use the same techniques for the tail. One side of the tail, and the other side. Then they have the front fins. And a little fact about the front fins, when you approach the dolphin, if you're swimming with dolphins, if their fins are going up, they're very tense. When the fins are down, they're very relaxed. People who swim with them think they're so cute when they come up to them and they start bouncing their heads. They think they want to be friendly. The dolphin can't see directly in front of them. They only see on the side. So they'll tell you, get out of my way. Okay. So I always make the fins in the front going downwards. Then I have a little colored glass. I'll make it for the eyes. What I mentioned before about keeping the body very warm, I have a fireproof material here that's going to contain the heat of this dolphin so that it slowly cools down and doesn't cause any stress. Once it's uniformly heated, I'm going to make a dolphin sandwich here. And it keeps the heat contained and slowly dissipating. Well, I make another piece. This time it's going to be a seal, balancing a little green ball on its nose. This came from a request. That's basically what I learned most of my work. I would do demonstrations at art shows and people would come up and ask me if I could do this or that, and I gave it a try. Sorry folks, that's a goof. Alright, we'll try again. Gotta go with the flow. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll try again for the seal. Gotta work a little slower. Yeah. make sure I got a tail end on this seal. And then make the neck of the seal. The dolphin place that I hung out there for a few seasons, they also had seals. And I was so envious of the trainers because they would be connecting with these seals and dolphins. It's a great job for these young kids. Okay. Now I'm going to use the air pressure to better shape the seal and the nose. Hopefully, anyway. And this, I also need, once I get the right shape, which might have to do here, I'm going to make an air hole again. Gotcha. And I need to hold on to it. It's going to be by the fins like I did in the dolphin. Been a while here. Again, the same technique is heating the body up so that I make the two areas kind of uniformed in heat. It's the same fold. There we go. Now I can hold on to the fins and make the back fins. Now I'm going to use some green glass. This is green glass rods, another 7mm. Glass comes in different colors, and the colors are made by oxides of metal. Cobalt and selenium gives you blue, and then selenium and cadmium gives you red. But I need to make, you see, as the glass coagulates and I keep it spinning, it'll turn into a ball. Then I connect it. You have to wait till it solidifies, and you can use what's in my left hand as an anchor, while my right hand has a soft glass and I can shape things. And gravity is my main tool as I guide it. Then I'll finish off the back fins. Same fold technique. There you go. And the same process. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The next piece I'm going to make was made with solid glass rods. I'm going to make a little elephant. It's one of my favorite animals anywhere. Anyway, I'll make him with his trunk up, which is good luck. You got to make it face your door so good luck comes into your home. Okay. And I'll hold it up on different stages. Well, I'm going to switch the torch because this is too wide for the detailed work. and I use a smaller torch tip. This is called the National Torch. It got designed and built in the 1950, and it's just it's a phenomenal torch. It's the first torch I started with. I have a good friend that's also my mentor, and he's in Albuquerque, and we were talking, and I started telling him about the torch. He goes, "You're still using the National?" "Well, I haven't." I said, "Listen, I got the big torches, but the National is my mainstay because I can get detail in it." Okay, here we go. It's hot enough to create the ball of the elephant. The ball I'm going to make is going to be the elephant's body. Again, it's to 180 degrees. That's why I do the blown pieces, because it's visibly easier to see. So all you see here is a big bright light, but I'll hold it up to show you what happens to the glass as I spin it. I'm constantly spinning it, and if it starts glowing and starts getting clear, that's when it solidifies. Once it solidifies, I'm going to attach this rod to the tail end of the elephant. And this junction is called a cold stick. It's going to give me a brittle grip so I can continue, but then it snaps right off when I'm ready. I'm going to go back to where the head is going to be on the elephant, and I'm going to go 90 degrees and press forward. And I'm going to get the head of the elephant. Then I come back in and I heat up some more for the trunk and make it going up. And you can start seeing the elephant. Then I break off the light grip there, and with another rod I can start adding limbs as we start there. Now when I put on limbs, I have to heat up the area where the limbs are going, so when the molten glass touches the body, it flows as one piece of glass with no seams. Seams can create cracks upon cooling, so you want to make sure there's no seams in the junction points, and give them an approximation of height and thickness. So number 2, again, glass has to solidify, and then I can work off that anchor to shorten the legs. Same thing for the next limb. I put the flame, or the elephant, out of reach of the flame so it starts to solidify. Same thing here. Once I get all 4 legs going, this 4-legged love, I take a graphite plate. Graphite is great to work with because unlike metal, it won't stick to the glass when it's hot. You can use it for forming it, and for working on my glass lathe, I can have a graphite rod that I can shape. So all 4 feet are even. Then I come back in and give some eyes. And a tail in a different color. Then I like to make Dumbo ears so he can fly around and meet his mom. Okay. I heat up a wad of glass, and I have a pair of needle nose pliers that have a plate on them so I can flatten glass. And I get a flat disc. Then I connect the leading edge of the disc to the section on the head where I can apply the glass. And then I can shape it down to a point. Remove the excess. Second verse, same as the first. Same disc. Plus, an elephant never forgets. There you go. Thank you, people. You know, they tell you that if you do what you love and love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I've been a bum for 50 years.
Very good.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, really, thank you.
It's fun. Isn't it? It's fun. You're welcome to come up and choose. I'm going to leave all the demonstration pieces with the center,
I'm just gonna take a quick.
and then distribute as I want.
Oh, that's the one.